You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 364 of East Central's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell, joined by executive video producer, audio engineer, cross-country middle school coach to the stars, Zach Burcham, and my forever co-host, Mr. Dakota Davis.
Today's episode features the three of us. We're going to be talking to you guys about some local Henry County news. First of all, the burn ban has been lifted. Then Henry Township is moving to some new offices. There's going to be a cool building in downtown Newcastle coming up for sale right next to the Elks. The OYO is back in the news. Some road work, of course. And then we're going to try to talk about some sports at the very end of the show. So if you want to hear Chase Payton cry, then make sure you stick around until the end of the show.
You're going to call Chase, make him drive over real quick.
I just figured we'd be able to hear him from here. His house is right down the road.
We'll stick the mic right out the door and you'll hear him.
Yep.
This show's about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh. But hopefully you'll always learn something new. Got to say a thank you to the folks that get us on the air each and every week with our Patreon. They just got themselves a nice, 20 minutes of Zach, Dakota, and myself talking about the weather and running. And Zach had a big announcement about a milestone he achieved.
That's true. BossHogofLiberty.com is where you can go to find the support button. That will take you to patreon.com/BossHogofLiberty. That's how the bills get paid in this studio. Electric is not cheap right now. You know, you do what you can.
Got to pay for that board
That
or
is
electric
how,
company and their big bonuses.
That's right. And, we need that money coming in so that we can pay the bills. I just paid $200 for the website. So I went and checked it, and there's still not a voicemail, by the way. So, put that money to good use as well. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it in some. If you're not a Patreon member, we'll play it in the regular show, right?
Anybody can do it.
That you can hear it.
We'll drop it in there. We'll put.
But if you're leaving us a voicemail and you're not a Patreon member, what's going on with
what are you doing? If you donate $50 or more a month to the cause to help this thing get on the air, what happens, Dakota?
We give you a shout out at the front of every episode, and those folks right now are Mr. Jonathan Phillips from Andy Moore Buick and GMC in Fishers, Indiana. And then we have Sports Corner and Varsity Outfitters here in Newcastle, Indiana.
Our guy Blake Reese over there. He did let me know that they can definitely embroider flannel shirts. So I noted on here that I got myself, I'm in these PFGs all the time.
You've got your cool weather gear.
And now we're transitioning into pumpkin spice mode. And that's when I go to my flannels, and I'm like, God, I gotta wear that too. So now I'm gonna have to get some fresh flannels with some BHOL logo on there too. But Blake will hook us up. He said they can do it.
He did me some custom stickers for cross country for my clipboards. He's good to work with.
All right. The burn ban has been lifted, Jeremiah. I was camping this weekend, and the first thing in the morning on Sunday, went out of my parents' camper because, whenever you have kids and you're camping with their grandparents, you've got to take them down to see their grandparents first thing in the morning. And that's where we have breakfast. So went down to my parents' camper, and it was pretty chilly. There was a brisk chill in the air, which felt nice. It felt like a nice fall day. And first thing I did was get some kindling chopped up, throw it in the fire pit, get a nice fire going so that we could cook breakfast next to the fire. and not even thinking that there was a burn ban in place.
Didn't even consider the fact that you were trying to kill all the trees.
But here's the thing,
Smokey was
Jeremiah.
gonna cry.
It was in a fire pit that has landscaping blocks around it, and it's also in the middle of a concrete patio. So does it really apply? Do the rules apply to me is what I'm asking.
This is a question. This is a question that has brought heated debate in a number of households and a number of Facebook groups over the last little bit. Henry County lifted theirs at the commissioners meeting on Wednesday. I'm pretty sure that I accidentally got it enacted when I texted Bobby Plummer 2 weeks ago.
You did, yep.
And I was like, are we doing this? Because there's like 14 counties that have it.
I openly blamed you for it all weekend. I was like, hey, everybody, this is Jeremiah's fault. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, he texted asking about it, and they instituted it like 40 minutes later.
An hour later, yep, we have one. Because I was like, are you doing this? I just wanted to know for the show. So it got lifted this week. Maybe it was in place for 2 weeks. And there is a lot of different interpretations, Dakota, on whether or not you can have a fire pit fire.
It's literally a county by county basis as to what it means, what it doesn't mean. I think even within that, I think then it gets down to like other government agencies within that group and whether or not they want to abide by it or not, potentially. I don't know.
It's weird. The Indiana Department of Homeland Security maintains a map. Just like if there's, we go through this in the wintertime.
Travel advisories.
Of if it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, please don't drive. Definitely don't drive. If you drive, we're going to put you in jail. The county commissioners or the county emergency management or individual township fire chiefs seem to be able to declare burn bans. And the state just kind of dropped it on the website. And I don't know if it's the honor system or how it works. But we have moved green after we had rain for like the last 5 days.
Yeah, I know.
So it cured us.
I dumped my rain gauge this morning. We had received 1.5 inches in the last day and a couple days.
But they're still basically the State Road 9 corridor, Dakota, is just still red. Like from Hancock County all the way down to Washington County, all the way down the line and into Floyd County down to the river. Those folks are still under burn ban. But southeastern Indiana, east central Indiana, Henry County and South, they're good to go. But there is this question, and it was a great Facebook discussion, and I don't know the answer. Is can you have a fire pit if a lot of state folks say if you're actively cooking over the fire and watching it, then you can use it. You can have a fire to cook like you did, Dakota. But then there are folks that say, well, you have to have it covered. So you can have a fire pit, but maybe you need to have like the metal screen over it so ashes don't leave. Can you use, like I have a portable propane fire pit. Could I use that? Because that's like a grill and not a wood burning fire. I don't know. Obviously, you're trying to keep grass fires from happening. And
there was a time whenever I first moved in, Audrey and I first bought our new house. We had 9 trees taken down. The majority of them were old ash trees. Some of them, there's a couple of them that still had leaves on them. Now, the tree company hauled away a lot of it, but they left quite a bit as well. And we just decided to throw it all in our burn pit and burn it. And if you've ever burned leaves before,
oh yeah,
then they just, once they get light enough from enough material being burned away,
flying fire,
they float away in embers.
Yep. And they land on the roof. They land they'll land on somebody's trampoline.
And that we did this at nighttime because it was after daylight savings time. So it was like 7 p.m. but midnight
savings time.
And so it was dark and it looked like it was Pompeii. It was raining fire from the heavens. And we were about to be covered and turned into ash. That's obviously the biggest worry whenever you're talking about a burn ban, right? Someone having a very contained fire that they are monitoring.
Yeah, the biggest concern would be if it's something, it's exactly that. If it's getting up and out and escaping. Burning cardboard, using your brain is what makes sense, right?
But here's the problem, and I've ranted about this on the show before. We legislate to the lowest common denominator of our civilians. We legislate so that the stupidest people do not mess up.
Fire bad, don't do it.
The
Map red.
90% of people know. And maybe 90% is being a little bit too much, too generous. But there's that 10% that are dumb enough to just not care. There's no burn ban. I'm going to burn my brush pile today.
I didn't even know there was
Well,
burn ban.
like, and I was at Summit Lake over the weekend. It didn't actually look that dry out there. And I'm not saying it wasn't, but like the grass wasn't like obviously dead. The campsite I had, the fire pit was in the middle of like dirt with no grass around it to catch fire, and the trees around it looked okay. Probably because 20 feet from the fire pit was a lake that was probably keeping the ground pretty moist over there.
They're doing fine.
But then I know that like at one point I had to go by the school. It was like a week or two before, but we were still pretty into they hadn't done the burn ban yet, I don't think. But it was like, if you got to the right areas, the grass is just straight up straw. It's horrible.
Right. The day that the burn ban went into place, there was a grass fire on I-70.
Yeah.
Where Dunreath had to roll out a fire truck to put out the median. Like it literally was burning.
But I had to go to the school. Grass at the school was dry. And I get out of the car and somebody has obviously thrown a lit cigarette just in the grass as they got out of the car. And it didn't light the grass, thankfully. But I'm like, this is why we can't have nice things. It's like we can't, because somebody's dumb enough to throw a cigarette down.
Well, yeah, because cars don't have ashtrays anymore, Zach.
Yeah.
I was just like,
blame GM.
I mean,
that's Chrysler's
it
fault
was
right there.
It was strange of just like how nice
Chrysler in this town, Jeremiah.
It's probably because of the lake. How nice Summit Lake looked compared to like Memorial Park.
Back when we had Plymouths, we had ashtrays in cars. God damn it.
Yeah. My brother's old Cadillac had more ashtrays than I had.
Dude,
room for
my 01 Eldorado had 3 ashtrays and it had 2 doors.
My brother had a 2-door Cadillac that had 6 ashtrays, 6 ashtrays and 5 cigarette lighters. Like they weren't 12-volt outlets; they were cigarette. Like each one of them stainless steel. Like, but they had
every seating
one in the back of the
middle,
one in the back of the center console, one in the center console. Well, there wasn't much of the center console in the front, but at the bottom of the dash, and then it had one in the doors. Each door had its own ashtray, and then in the back was another flip-up panel with another ashtray in each side and a cigarette lighter.
And whenever I was researching electronics for my dad and I to put in our bass boat conversion, I noticed that on Amazon they sell aftermarket cigarette lighters for modern vehicles. So you can buy a cigarette lighter to put in your 2024 dash
in your 12-volt plug.
No, it's a like a whole assembly.
Oh, the whole thing.
Yeah,
my 2023 GMC Sierra does not have a 12-volt plug. It has USB ports. It doesn't even have the old school cigarette lighter anymore at all. Nothing. It's been deleted. No CD player, no cassette player, no cigarette lighter.
The Excursion's got 4 or 5 12 volts.
Yeah, I remember.
Tahoe's got 2. Our Tahoe's got 2 in 08.
Yeah.
My 2014 Chevy Sonic that I had, I bought that car brand new. And after I first bought it and I was driving it, I drove it home, like my new car. And then the next day I got up for work. And I'd moved all of my CDs and stuff out of my old car and put them in there. And then I get in there to go to work. And it's a 45-minute drive. And I'm like,
all right, let me listen to Cake.
Where's the CD player? There's no CD player in this car. I was freaking out. There was an aux port. And that was it. It wasn't Bluetooth. This was 2014.
Yeah. It was just in a bad halfway house of an era.
Yeah, it was just they had really jumped the gun on deleting the CD player in that.
Was it hidden anywhere? My
time.
wife's Volkswagen, the CD player was in the trunk.
He bought a brand new car for $16,000. I don't think. I don't think. If I remember right, this car, the gauges were in the middle.
They were in the middle. There was one gauge in the. There was a speedometer.
You know why?
That was it.
It's because they could build one dash for the whole world.
Yeah,
because they could put right side drive
anywhere.
And they don't have to move the dash. The dash the same. They just
Big news coming from Henry County's township government. Travis Lyle has been a headline-grabbing township trustee. He and the township board have been making big moves. They sold a piece of property that is now going to be a car wash on State Road 3. Did pretty well on that financial transaction. and they have determined that the current building they've been in throughout the winter, Dakota, you remember we talked a lot about the warming shelter that turned into a homeless shelter.
Yep.
Big conversation about that through the mayor's election last year, and in the primary series, we were talking about needs. The township government is selling that building, which historically is known as the YMCA or the Church Street Gym.
Yeah.
And they have purchased or have an agreement. I think they're spending $400,000 to buy the Place Church on 21st Street, which is kind of on the east side of town. I think it was a satellite church for another church here in the city of Newcastle. So those folks, it was underused. They sold it, and they're putting a for sale sign in the Church Street Gym. So what in the hell is going to happen to that building? That's my big question, is how much is it going to sell for? Is it going to go back on tax rolls? Or is somebody going to open it up and we're going to have a pool and a gym open downtown? What is going to happen with this thing?
When I was in high school, a friend of mine got caught on the roof of that building by the police.
It is one of those buildings that I'm not generally oh gosh, we need to save buildings. And the Y part, the Church Street Gym, somebody should find some way to save that because it's historically significant to like basketball world. Kind of
it's constantly used.
Yeah.
Even now, there are people playing basketball in there almost every day, all year round.
And, so it'll be interesting to see. I know that I can understand that if you looked at how big the township's office was before, the building that they sold is now the car wash.
The building that we sit inside of at one point 35, 40 years ago was the Henry Township office.
Yeah. And then you look at how big that one went. It's Old YMCA. It's like, what is it, 4 stories? 3 or 4 stories. And it has like
it's a massive building, broken elevator.
Two sets of gyms. Like there's the big gym and there's a smaller gym. And then nobody's seen it probably since in 20 years? Because I think the Y opened up like 2004, 2005. There's a pool in the basement that has a bunch of swastikas all over it because it predates. It's that old of a pool. But yeah, so I mean, if somebody had
really like
wicked
swastikas?
Tiles,
yeah.
I swam in that pool as a kid.
Yeah, and I did, and that's one of those things that I did not recognize as a kid because I was young enough. I hadn't learned about Nazis yet.
You didn't know about German history.
Yeah, but
the History Channel wasn't.
The pool predates Nazi Germany. That's why it's
insane.
in there.
Wow.
So. But yeah, there's a pool down there. I don't think it's very big. I think it was a lot bigger because I was a lot smaller as a kid. But yeah, there's a pool down there, and yeah, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. But somebody to really take control of it and make it nice, the whole thing is going to have some pretty deep pockets.
It's an interesting building, though. We've seen a lot of every downtown building that's still standing has found investors. Things have happened, right? The Hub, which is the Courier Times building, has been repopulated with restaurants with different businesses in it. Our neighbors to the east of us here are potentially going to turn into a condo building, I guess, is the current plan for the old jail annex built. Not jail annex,
but the one's going to be a boutique hotel.
The boutique hotel that then, and maybe now the current plan is they're asking for ready money so that they can turn it into into some condos or apartments or whatever you want to call it, owner occupied building. But they're asking for a bunch of government money to make it happen. So I don't know if it's going to happen. But that building is going to be, somebody's going to have a really creative use for it. And I've seen, they took the old jail in Muncie and turned it into some owner occupied condos.
The Elks should buy it. And
that's actually not a horrible idea.
Rehab the old pool. Keep the gym open, and make the upstairs like a hostel situation. So if you get too drunk in the Elks,
send you over.
He's got 3/4 of a good idea.
You can pay $40 and have a safe place to sleep, and then your car's right there the next morning.
I'm trying to think of how creatively you cut up things and make it like a mixed condo / potentially like, I don't know, like Airbnb or hotel kind of spaces.
Public space.
And then have potentially the gym and the pool be kind of a semi-public space. Or if you had enough, you could make it nice enough to make it like nice condos, and those people just get a private gym and a private pool. But I'm not sure if Newcastle's got that kind of market.
Also, how crazy would it be if you found out that the pool was built in like 1942?
Oh man, yeah, that'd be real interesting.
They should have known better.
Yeah.
They retiled this in 46.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually tiled in 73.
No, everybody remember what Dakota looks like nowadays.
Yeah. Oh my God. They bought a real good deal on this in 39. That would be great.
I don't know. Stay tuned on it. I'm very curious what it's going to sell for, what the advertised price is going to be. If it does go private, then maybe that's going to be a building that's contributing back to downtown, to the tax base. And I go in there maybe once or twice a year at most when there's a community event in the building.
Yeah.
But it's a historic. So I don't know if the audience knows this, but Newcastle high school basketball played there before they went to the world's largest and finest field house.
It's the Marion Pierce Rape Baby Shootout happened in the Church Street gym. And if you look in there, Nancy Wadman, when she took it over as the township trustee, kind of restored, because it used to be that the gym you couldn't even get into from the street normally. Like there were some doors, but the YMCA never used them, that I recall. But she got those reopened, and it still got the carpet, like it needs a new floor put down and stuff. But you go into that gym, there's 2 full basketball courts with a stage to one side, and then there's seating for probably a couple of hundred people into the one side. And if somebody could really fix that up, it could be on par with the
Hoosier Gym.
With the Hoosier Gym in Nicetown. Yeah. Yeah.
Basketball lives here, right?
Yep. Yeah. Hey, Carrie Barrett. Be a killer project for somebody but they're gonna have to have money.
Dakota's gonna have to find himself being very active with the Elks to get this off the ground. The hostel part's where you lose me.
Really, the top floor just $40 a night or something.
Man,
Community showers and a little kitchenette.
I think you could turn it into a really cool gym, just like a gym.
The
basketball
gym,
plus an athletic workout.
I mean, when the YMCA was there, they had there's a cardio room, and then it also had like what I would call it like the cable pull machines, like Cybex is a brand or whatever, Nautilus, like the cable workout machines, and then upstairs was a totally different room, which is on an upper floor that had all the free weights were on the second floor. So it's a strong building, and then karate would be in a room, and
you could do an athletic club.
Yeah. And then there was, I think, the whole other floor.
Almost like a YMCA.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think there was a whole other floor above there that I don't even know if the YMCA used. I think they really just used the first 2 floors.
Maybe it was like office and storage.
Once upon a time, there was also a daycare facility run out of the building, right? Which I think is another glaring need in the community. It's a tough time to try to repurpose something like this, though, when you've got an expo center that's half built and other projects that you're trying to get over the finish line, and YMCA that's trying to expand, trying to figure out what there's a market for. And if you're obviously government, it's getting out of government hands and going to the private sector. I'm excited to see what happens, but somebody's going to have to be very creative about the repurpose of it.
I'm trying to see if Beacon will actually give me some useful information. It
Get
says
some square
Swimming
footage.
Pool Complex Club 1980. Let's hope not. Let's hope it was before that. But there's something that says 1900, which I think defaults. And there's part of it that says 1924.
I believe 1924.
Yeah.
There was a big community forum this last week dealing with the State Road 9 and I-70 corridor. We've talked about this, Dakota, a number of times on the show. Indianapolis is growing this way. Folks had the big imagination boards, writing Post-it notes and taking the community feedback as to what they think needs to happen. Any ideas for what the next truck stop should be out there at 109 and 70?
At 109 and 70?
Knightstown, big Knightstown exit.
Put a Buc-ee's in. Oh no, we have the new Henry County hospital thing going in there.
Yep, the medical facility is being built.
That's really the only place you could put a Buc-ee's is right where they put it. So never mind on that.
You could go Buc-ee's down at Wilbur Wright Road if you really wanted to. You could do a Wilbur Wright Road Buc-ee's if you want one in Henry County.
You know, I bet that Buc-ee's would finally pay. I bet Buc-ee's would privately pay the state of Indiana to put a exit off of 103. We would just have to get rid of the trailer park.
You know what? I don't actually doubt that. Because is that exit at Richmond, Kentucky? Was it there before?
I don't think so.
There's nothing at the exit at Richmond, Kentucky.
There's
except
literally one
Buc-ee's.
house and a Buc-ee's.
Yes.
I know that when Honda built on I-74 in 2004, something like that, for their assembly plant in Shelby County, they paid to put a new bridge in and interchange for Honda.
Yeah. I mean, obviously don't recall the Richmond interchange before Buc-ee's existed on 75, which is, I think, about
we
our
have
closest one.
Buc-ee's billboards in Indianapolis,
But there's-
so it's not.
There's so
I mean, they're
little
coming.
there.
Coming to Dayton, they're coming to Cincinnati. Buc-ee's invasion is happening soon. It's just a matter of where.
I hated Buc-ee's until we went on our Gulf Shore trip. But let me tell you, they are perfectly spaced for the amount of stops to take to the Gulf Coast.
Well, the one that's in, and I know it's not built for that, but the one that's in Richmond, Kentucky is exactly halfway between here and Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It breaks up a 6-hour drive perfectly. It's 3 hours away.
I had a brisket and egg breakfast taco. That was like unbelievable.
I had a kolache there.
See, okay, I like it.
I like kolache.
But here's the
a lot.
problem. Like, I like barbecue. My kids don't like barbecue. You can't get a burger. They don't sell like just a cheeseburger.
Right.
So yeah, it's okay. And then Jeremiah knows this life. They have pretty decent money on diesel, but like I have a fleet card, so I end up going to a Love's that's nearby, and that's got like a McDonald's or a Hardee's in it, so I can feed my
We
kids.
stopped at the Buc-ee's in Athens, Alabama, and they have a gigantic car wash there that just like you think that it's going to end, and then all of a sudden you're getting sprayed with soap again. It was incredible.
We do need to clean up one thing.
Oh.
The interchange at 109 and 70. It's not Henry County Hospital. It's Hancock Health Gateway.
Oh yeah.
So the Hancockonians
Yeah, that's 109.
are engaging or are invading Henry County. The Greenfieldians, Eagleton over there. It's their project that they've added. It's not a Henry County Hospital facility.
I thought it was Henry County.
It was. We would have thought it was, but apparently that is not the case. But they're talking about, what do they do with the interchanges at 109 and 800 South and County Road 650 South. So that corridor, it's not just that interchange, but that full corridor is what's going to happen. There's going to be more warehouses built. Are you going to see housing? As I-70 becomes 3 lanes throughout the region, and it's very easy to be a commuter as you are, Zach, to get to downtown Indianapolis, to get to the east side or the northeast side and to Carmel. Cheaper land values, you're going to see some major infrastructure improvements happen because people are going to build houses there.
Well, what's
And the
that little
community's gonna
town
grow.
just to the north of 70 there? Is that
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson? Yeah.
That's in Hancock County.
Yeah, that's Eastern Hancock schools.
But yeah, south on 109, the other big struggle that they have is they need to get utilities there, right? Water and wastewater have to get there.
There's
for
a
this improvement.
housing addition just a mile south of 70 on 109 to the east. So if
It's a
you
little
go
farther
like a
than that.
mile south on 109 and then you turn on the first road that goes to the east,
Mhm.
there's 2 whole housing additions right
Correct.
there.
Those are like rural residential houses, though, where they all have septic. I think the expectation would be that you're going to find more dense, smaller lots.
Mm. Like a
your true addition, not, hey, here's a lot, go build what you want, put your septic in, have your nice little country home.
Mm.
I think you're going to truly start to see some developer traditional,
like the cardboard houses they have in Greenfield.
exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if the old building, people remember what the paddock was. There was a muscle car shop out on 109. I wonder if there's utilities run out that far.
I don't believe so.
So that's on its own.
I believe it's on its own.
There's
individual
like a
system, too.
golf. That's the golf courses right there, and
Tom's, I believe, that's there. Yeah, Tom's. The other big news that I discovered this week is that the bridge over on 140 over the Big Blue River is going to have a complete replacement. Complete replacement.
Where's 140?
Highway 140 is the road that goes south out of Knightstown to go to Carthage or to go to the old state home, the Soldiers and
Oh,
Sailors home.
Yeah.
So right at the county line, it's actually the bridge technically sits in Rush County by 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get done. Bats are in danger as well. Reading the environmental report, there's a shit ton of bats they're worried about in doing that project.
Under the bridge.
To live under the bridge, yeah.
I think there's going to be an acre of disturbed right of way. So there's actually an acre they're going to have to take out of service for the farmland. Because when you do a bridge like this, you're going to improve the grade, yada, 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 probably make sure it's up above the floodplain, et cetera. And probably some trees are going to come down, et cetera, et cetera. But that progress is coming too. So money's going to get spent. Good for the community, whatever. Good for my day job. Christy Avery wants to know who this dude with Jeremiah is. He looks familiar. Yeah, we used to know that guy. Progress, man. But it's going to be fun because the detour is the official detour is to go down through Rushville and come back up if you want to go to Carthage.
That's not a road I travel on, so good for them. I wanted to finish up 70 in Hancock County.
It's the way I get to my parents' house.
Oh,
or one of the two routes I have to get to my parents' house. This one affects my house and my life. Or to visit my sister.
Maybe they'll take the mobile cameras and take them away from my commute and put them onto yours.
I'm pretty sure that's a state road only because of the Soldiers and Sailors Home. That's no longer the Soldiers and Sailors Home.
I'd travel that road all the time
that was
for work, and I had no idea that it was a state road. I thought it was a county road.
Nope, State Road 140.
I love to drive by the little soldier, that whole campus.
I couldn't tell you where that
it's
is.
So cool.
I have no idea. That's a part of the county I don't go to or never have.
Do you ever take 40 through Knightstown?
Yeah, occasionally.
So the big downtown stoplight, if you turn south, that's 140. It's signed as
Corner
140.
Bakery.
Yeah.
There's
I've been to the Corner Bakery. I've had breakfast.
I believe Hancock Rural Telecom, now 9-Star Connect. They have a little building there. So yeah, just go south there. Take you straight to the bridge. It's going to be closed. You're going to get there and go, well, shit. Can't go anywhere else.
Actually, if you go on that road and then
I hope the people are following it home on Google Maps.
Continue in the county, the county area between Knightstown and Carthage is some of the most beautiful section of Henry County, in my opinion. There's beautiful rolling hills, very old architecture. It's very nice.
At this point, I'll raise a practical question and remind him that that's Rush County. That the most beautiful part of Henry County is northern Rush County.
Not quite. No, just right outside of Knightstown. I don't think we would quite be in Rush County because Rush County is just north of Carthage, right? Just barely.
Rush County is the bridge. So the Big Blue River, when you cross the Big Blue River, you are going into Rush County.
So I guess on the Rush County, Henry County line is just fantastic.
It is a beautiful area.
Cool
I would
place.
agree. I would agree that parts of the area because I'll take Greensboro Pike into town once in a while from work. I haven't done it in a while.
You've got bald eagles down there. It's a great area.
It really is.
It's a kayak launch. Great things to do. You could put a kayak in up here in Newcastle and sail all the way down to Morristown, Indiana. And
you might get to some parts where you might have to walk it.
Yeah, I didn't realize Knightstown is Knightstown city limits curl literally adjacent to County Line Road.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what about that fishing pond? There's the campground and fishing pond.
that's all in Rush County, man.
That's in Rush County?
That entire road that you're talking about is in Rush County.
So I actually...
That's Carthage Pike.
Yeah. I thought that was in Henry County.
Nope. That's all Rush County. Like when you cross this bridge on 140, okay. This is at this point.
I know the bridge you're talking about, and it shocks me that's because that's so close to Knightstown.
Yeah.
I would have thought that was still like Knightstown city limit.
I've got it pulled up in on Beacon because I was already in Beacon, and Knightstown literally curls around and it curls and becomes tangential to the county line.
There's a road just north of the bridge that is County Line Road. Yeah. If you live on the north side of the road, you're in Rush County. In Henry County, south side of the road, you're in Rush County.
I didn't realize it was that close either.
Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. Interesting.
Because 40 drops south west of Dunreath before Nicetown. So 40 looks like it's probably only maybe 100 yards or a couple hundred yards inside Henry County when it leaves the western side of the county. This is map time with.
You got running time on my Patreon.
Learn something new every day.
Geography with Zach, Dakota, and Jer. Playing the hits here. Back in the day, Juice in the Morning, Justin Juice Kelly, He had a big comedy show at the Raintree Inn, but it was during the window of time, and the Boss Hog audience turned out. We all showed up to support Juice at his comedy show at the Newcastle Raintree Inn that was known at the time as the Oyo, On Your Own. Oyo. OYO. Red and white color scheme. That place, I think, was the Newcastle Oyo for about 6 months. They have been a fast-growing chain of hotels and motels and places to lay your head, hostels, places to lay your head. I think they just started like in 2019, 2009, somewhere in there. I don't have it pulled up in my head, but it's very recent.
In India.
They're based in India, and they have been franchising and adding all over North America. On my big road trip down to Louisiana, there were Oyos all over the Mississippi River Valley, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, Mississippi. There were Oyos all the way down there. They have purchased Motel 6. And you're like, oh my God, an American brand now owned by the Indians. That's been the clickbait article all week on this. The Indians have purchased the Motel 6. It's gone. Motel 6 is still going to operate, still going to exist. And in my research for this, I discovered that Blackstone Capital has owned Motel 6 for like the last 7 or 8 years. So whatever. It's one of those big holding companies that you don't know who the hell owns what.
Blackstone,
Blackstone, BlackRock. One of those groups that just owns everything under
Street.
under the big holding umbrella of whatever. So this is a $525 million deal. 1,450 hotels are now going to be in the Oyo family.
The Oyo in Newcastle has been rebranded back to the Raintree.
Yes.
Is it still owned by Oyo?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's a franchising deal where they dropped the name on it, and I don't know the specifics as to what happened.
It was Oyo for like 4 months.
Yeah, it was a very short period of time. They redid the sign, and if you look really close, they reused one of the O's. There's one O on the sign that's still jacked up because it's from the Oyo. And that's just my little reminder of what had happened.
Where's the Oyo in Raintree?
Hotel.
Yeah,
I think it's a hotel.
And the O is like
Funky.
It's perfectly round. I think it's what it is. I think it's like, I'm trying to think, but there you look at it and you're like, something's weird about that. And I think the O is perfectly circular.
It's the O from Oyo. Yeah.
They couldn't spare the extra $60.
I don't.
We can reuse that one.
I don't have like.
Swear to God, go look at it.
If you recall, this is about the same time
check it on the way
they
over.
replaced like the message sign, and it was like they got one that was like
too small for the space.
size of what the space was, or 40%. And you're like, how much more was that really just to get one that fit the space? But
I'm sure Oyo bought it and then saw how much it was going to take to renovate it.
It was on a spreadsheet, and they went, what the hell did we just do?
Yeah.
Never mind.
I don't have the fondest memories.
Oyo entered the U.S. market in 2019. 2019.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So Motel 6. Dakota, do you have any memories? You ever stayed at a Motel 6? Do you know about them?
I know about them. I never stayed in one.
So there's the Motel 6 and then the Super 8. Are you familiar with the radio commercials back in the day?
No.
Okay. I've got Zach. He's queued this up.
Oh, yeah.
There's this guy from NPR, and I didn't know who the hell he was. I only knew him from the Motel 6 commercials. Tom Bodett. Tom Bodett would always have, and we'll leave the lights on for you. They just did radio commercials. That's all they did. And it was always just him. He's just he's an NPR voice. And he's just got kind of like Mike Rowe, like just a story time, welcoming, hey, little piffy thing about our hotels, and we'll be there for you.
Yeah. So this is a 13-second ad for Motel 6.
Has never been cooler, and if being hip and trendy is wrong, I don't want to be right. I'm Tom Bodett for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
So that's it. Like these ads are as American nostalgia as it gets, all over the country. I remember them when I was 6-7 years old, listening to the garage radio back in the day. Tom still works there. He still does this. He's been doing it since 1986.
Yeah.
Since I was 3 years old, Tom Bodett's been the voice of this. So I don't know if now he's going to pick up business in India too. I don't know. But they're keeping the name. Motel 6 is still going to be a thing. I hope Tom Bodett survives the transition.
I can't say what joke I was.
I just remember. I don't have super fond memories of it as the Oyo, and I'll tell you why. Because at that point, I thought that like they like banned smoking everywhere, and we went into that comedy show, and you could hardly see across the room, and that used to be the restaurant where they had the comedy show.
And you don't go to the places I go, Zach.
I know,
Different world.
but it was like. I just found it. I was like, oh, I guess you can still, but it used to be a restaurant. It was called Twigs back in the day. It was a nice restaurant. You can go have nice breakfast, whatever. I was like, and now they're never going to get the cigarette smoke out of this room. It was so heavy. Yeah.
If it's 21 and over, you can allow smoking.
Yeah.
If it's a club and Dakota's interpreting the rules, but you can't have an open fire. That's the story. Sports. Last week we had Chase Payton in here, and he was predicting I believe he predicted a Chicago Bears win. And we were very low on the hopes of our Indianapolis
Of course
Colts.
he did.
Chase did he chose Dakota to not go to the game where his team played in town. He
Wow.
drove to Chicago for week 1 to watch them play at Soldier Field. They're here in week 3, and he's like, I went to Chicago and saw them. I'm good. Apparently, half the stadium was full of Bears fans in Indianapolis, and the Colts beat them.
There's quite
First
a
win
few
of the year.
Bears fans in Indiana. I mean, just geographically being
Geography.
located to-
The Colts have only been in Indianapolis for 42 years.
Yeah.
So they're still
Carry over.
You choose your football team when you're 9. So if you're 60 or 55, you very well have already had an allegiance with the Steelers or the Bengals or the Bears, and then those things are familial, right? Dad was a Vikings fan, so I'm a Vikings fan. Joey Molinaro is a Steelers fan because the Molinaro family is a Steelers family. And Chase got it from his family too.
Speaking of sports,
Actually, he didn't. He did it because he chose the wrong team during the Super Bowl.
while on sabbatical, I took Audrey and Jackson to an Indians game, and
We can't say that anymore.
they have approval from the Miami.
I believe that the Guardians,
They have approval from the Miami,
the Indianapolis Indians.
and man, God, what a good time! It was amazing.
Minor League Baseball.
I
in
haven't
person?
been to an Indians game since I was a kid. I've been to a lot of Reds games as an adult, but God, it was so much fun. And Sundays, kids eat free. The beer's cheap, the hot dogs were cheap, and tickets were $12. And we were like,
You can sit in the grass.
We
out in the
were
outfield
right
and
there.
Bring your own food.
it was
Not a lot of venues you can bring your own food.
it was an incredible time. Jackson had a good time. It was Kids Day, and they had the characters from Bluey there, which is why we had decided to go.
I heard he cut the line and got to see. He was like second line for Bluey.
Oh yeah, we saw the reviews from last year, and there was like thousands of people that showed up. So we were like, oh, let's get there early. We got there like, I don't know, 35 minutes early. Not crazy, That's a concert. Like you get that early to a concert, and
Before the gates open to the building.
yeah, before the gates open
Okay.
to the park.
Right. Yep.
And
I mean, that's not Mason Roddenhouse showing up to a Luke Combs concert, but
That's pretty aggressive for a minor league baseball game.
yeah.
we were like fifth in line, and then it just got crazy, and people were piling in behind us, and we left at the bottom of the 6th inning, and
That's perfect for baseball. High five, Dakota. I've not made it to the end of a baseball game, and
that was
30
mainly
years.
Jackson's call. But whenever we left, there was still a line, and they were telling people that if they hadn't gotten in line yet, then they wouldn't be able to meet the characters because the line was going to take until after the game. My first thought was the poor bastards that had to stand in those costumes, those mascot costumes, that whole time. I couldn't imagine.
Here's why don't you just, they won't see him. Put one of them over on like down the first base line over in that section. Of
Just have two of them.
He has to have two of them. You could actually pull off three. You could put one behind first, one behind home plate, one behind third. Because that stadium, that ballpark wraps around like most of them do. You could have them out of sight. That sounds like a long day.
Yeah.
To be in a costume. How warm was it?
It was hot.
It was hot.
96 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the end of July, But anywho, yeah, the Indians games are incredible. Go! It's so cheap and it's so much fun. And
Dakota's giving this advice as the baseball season has ended.
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm just saying, Indians games, hockey games. This is just for Indiana.
Go to a Fuel game. Go to your minor league games.
Right, and we have, soccer, hockey, baseball. It's all such good times. WNBA games, especially in Indiana right now.
BC 39 and IMS.
That's this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a good time.
Indy 8 hour with Alex Palou racing now.
So,
but the ball diamond
in October
and the baseball and the basketball stuff is all like downtown. So you can like park, get dinner somewhere, wander over there. There's some good spots to eat, even kind of at the corner of where the ball diamond is. So,
and honestly, I mean, Jackson, 4 years old, 4.5, and he's like, I want to come back here when Bluey's not here, so we can watch. So I can watch the game longer because he had been tired. He'd stood in
it was
line.
An emotional roller coaster.
We stood in line for an hour, and then he saw Bluey, and then it was Kids Day, so there's all kinds of games to play and things going on.
What's the group that comes up there and plays? It's like the
Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
Bring them up to a Savannah Bananas game.
That's a great idea, actually. It's a really good idea.
That is a tough ticket to get.
I bet it is.
That is
But the people I know, the people that go
those are
have
like
a great time.
Savannah Banana tickets are on the level of getting yourself Taylor Swift. They will sell out instantly.
For people who don't know, that they're the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes the Washington Generals don't win in that. They have three teams. They don't. It's not just two. Can you name the three teams?
No. I just know the Savannah Bananas.
They've got the Bananas, and then they have, I think they're like the Firemen, and then they have the Party Animals, I think. I know the Party Animals for sure. And the third team, I think, is like the Firemen, but we'll have to look it up.
We also had just ended T-ball season for Jackson, so he was fresh off of playing baseball himself. So him going out there and just watching like how fast everything was for them.
The Firefighters.
Just blowing his mind.
The Firefighters.
I don't think you were born yet, but the Harlem Globetrotters came to Newcastle and played at the field house once.
He had to be alive. I was a teenager.
Barely. It was 99.
There was
because I knew April.
They came in my lifetime.
To the field house?
I've seen it at the field house.
It's always like, I went and saw him. I've got the poster somewhere. I could tell you the date.
Christy Avery's reminding us that there's also the Super 8. Have you guys stayed in these cheap motels? Like the low end? The Motel 6 was brought along because it was a $6 hotel for like traveling contractors.
I don't think I've ever stayed in...
I've stayed in a Super 8 and I've stayed in a Red Roof Inn.
I don't think I've ever stayed in a Super 8. I have stayed in Motel 6 for sure. I definitely have stayed in Red Roof Inns. We did a lot of Red Roof Inns. Probably IndyCar related
Bobby Rahals'
loyalties
partner,
back in the day.
The Truman.
And then the hotel that I remember doing a lot of time in as a kid was Fairfield Inns, which is kind of the low end of the Marriott end. They had the weird keys that were like holes punched, like they were looked like dominoes, except the holes are punched in, and that's how the keys work.
The worst hotel I ever stayed in my life was a Red Roof Inn, and it was one down in Edinburgh, Indiana. I was in my trying to struggle my way through college and working. I was announcing horse shows on the weekends, and I would do a show in Edinburgh, and they would be like, "Yep, we got your room covered. Great, thanks." I stayed at the Red Roof Inn, and I thought I was going to die.
We stayed at a $1 Inn one time. It was over by college.
$1 Inn. You stayed at a place called Dollar Inn.
And
you paid by the dollar
I was a kid,
to rent it.
It was
per hour.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and that's the kind of people that were in that $1 Inn. It was on Michigan Road in Indianapolis.
I need it for 2 hours. It'll be $3.
That was a one and done for my dad trying to save a couple of bucks on that one. My mom was not happy.
if you'd go to that side of Indy today, I don't think that you would come out alive.
Nah, I mean, we were. This is the funny part. We were staying there probably to go to Beef and Boards, which is a dinner theater up there. The Fairfield Inn was like across the street, so even like my parents would go, and we wouldn't even go. We just hang out in the hotel room. So yeah, it depends on what side of the road you're on. It's like a property by property basis as to how nice your experience is going to be there.
Intended specifically for Chris Spangle.
Days Inn as well.
I remember some days. Yeah,
we had one here in Newcastle at Spiceland.
Yeah,
I've stayed some Days Inns that were good, and then there's one I think I was looking at staying somewhere. And I looked up, and it was like. One of them was like, there was like no hot water. And then someone was mad because like a road crew had rented a room just for the showers. And so like
they just rolling in
14 dudes would roll in there just to shower.
I have gotten really bougie. As I've gotten older, this is the one place that I'm spending more money in life is that I'm like exclusive to like the Hilton properties. Hampton Inn is like my base now. And that's,
I've done some comfort. Like I'm on the Choice Hotels bandwagon at this point because I've stayed at a couple that have been nice. Like there's one near the St. Louis IndyCar race I've stayed at, and it's been nice. But like I found that with more camping and using my camper to go places, that my wife in particular, but me too, standards for hotels have gotten a lot more stringent because when the standard is this is my bed, this is my house that I carry with me. Then you go into some hotels, and especially like bed bugs weren't a thing that I recall as a kid, and that's a thing now. Yeah, we're definitely a lot more picky than we used to be.
Exactly. I'm like, I go into some Hampton Inns, and I'm like, this bed is too damn small. Like they said this is a queen, and it is not a queen. It is like a fake hotel queen. I've had that feeling a few times.
I think I can't remember where we were going. We went somewhere with my in-laws, and we stayed in a hotel. And this was like 2, 3, and it's been a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And I realized at that point that my kids hadn't really they never stayed in a hotel. And then we went to a Great Wolf Lodge like 2 years ago. And that was, I think, the first time they actually remember ever having stayed in a hotel in their entire life. Like they had always just been in a camper or we rented a house or something.
If they don't have a continental breakfast, I'm out.
The more expensive the hotel gets, then they start to not give you the damn breakfast.
Yes, I know. So you got to do the middle of the road.
Because the Comfort Inn we stayed at, it wasn't that great. But they had the waffle thing. You make your own waffles, and they had the continental breakfast. But yeah, all of a sudden you get up to like a real nice one.
Yeah, you go stay at the
best
DoubleTree or the Hilton Garden Inn. They're like, yep, it's $19 for breakfast. Stay at the Hilton, it's $35, but it's free at the Hampton. What?
Yeah.
What?
No, I like Hamptons.
I do think you do get into like a chain. I wonder if that's a thing where a lot of people have kind of got themselves. Not even, it's like for me, it's not rewards. I don't think I've ever cashed in a reward. I don't stay in them often enough. But once you figure out, well, this one's consistent enough that you don't really want to go. I stayed in a Hilton property a time or two downtown. But yeah, that was years ago.
I stay in 8 to 10 nights a year and something. So I get enough points that every couple of years I can get a free hotel stay. I did a week in Los Angeles for free once. And then last year we stayed in Manhattan, which would have been like $800 hotel for the night for a stupid shoebox of a room, a third of the size of this podcast studio. It would have been $800. We got it for free.
$800.
Yeah, $800 for the night. The hotel tax. So we're doing New York City here in a little over a week. Hotel taxes are like 26%. 26%. So a room in Manhattan, I think the Saturday night we're staying there is like a $330 a night room. The Sunday night's only like $150, $160. They're insane. They're total sidebar. I was like, why the hell is it so expensive? Brian Nichols is going to get excited when he listens to this later. A shit ton of hotels signed long-term contracts during COVID when there were no tourists to put migrants in. So a bunch of hotels in New York City basically are full of people that are refugees, essentially. So they signed contracts. Yeah. So those are not in the loop. So about 10% of the hotels in Manhattan are not available for tourists.
What?
So now and they're getting like half the price of what tourists would pay. So now
and the city government's paying for it.
And the city government's paying for it. And by the way, the mayor of New York City got indicted yesterday for a federal bribery problem.
Yeah, I saw that.
So they have long-term contracts for migrants to stay in hotels in downtown Manhattan. But now that all the tourists are back, they're like, well, shit, now we don't have hotels for the tourists. So you're paying out the nose if you want
How
to stay on
long a
that.
term of agreement did they sign? How long did they think COVID was going to last?
That's a hell of a question, Zach. I don't have that information prepared at this time, but I know
Listen,
as
Zach,
I know as a tourist going
I-
to New York City, it's a problem for me now.
Listen, Zach, I know that you work for the government, but let me tell you, as a person who's worked for corporations, they don't think much about long term. They only think
This
about
quarter.
what can get them profits in this quarter.
Right now, yeah.
How can I make as much money for my shareholders today, buck next month?
Because I'm going to give myself a nice bonus, and then I'll impress them so much that I'll negotiate a new contract
And I'll retire.
with a killer golden parachute.
And the VPs and all those levels, they move around enough to where they're never
yeah.
there long enough to see any kind of repercussions. So it doesn't matter.
It's just, I mean, it's like it's late. It is fall 2024. COVID hit 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. So, but
They're preschoolers that are COVID babies.
some guy who is the
There are middle-aged dogs that were adopted during
New
COVID.
York regional CFO made an agreement, and he's been promoted to a different level of his incompetence, and he doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that's how far down the rabbit hole I went. We're staying at a DoubleTree that's about 35 floors tall, and I think they have, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 rooms on each floor, and multiple elevators. But you read the reviews. Every time I look at hotel reviews, I get scared because it's like, yep, there's 4 elevators and 3 don't work. Good luck getting to the top floor, folks.
So according to this, it's not the city. Well, okay, so the city has one. The Department of Homeland Security has a contract with hotels to host asylum seekers, and that's been since April 2022.
There we go.
Initially for 5,000 rooms for up to $237 million.
Is that one exclusively for the Chinese males of military age that are coming to
But was
Mexico?
later extended and increased to 14,000 rooms and up to $987 million. As of May 31st, 2024, 49,460 asylum seekers and 4,500 non-asylum seekers were being housed in DHS contracted hotels.
Non-asylum seekers, which means
5,000.
they are
Just-
illegal immigrants who are currently breaking the law, and we are using our tax dollars to put them in hotel rooms.
Some of the most expensive real estate on the planet.
50. So as of May 31st, it's it seems like we're currently almost 55,000 people.
Did you guys
in
know
New
about
York.
this at all? Just
No,
in passing.
it says New York City also has signed a $77 million contract to house migrant families, and the contract allows the city to negotiate competitive rates. And then some other group paid $1.7 million for 10,000 vacant hotel rooms
Also-
between May and June of
And
rounding
you
error.
also have the problem of like what percentage of the asylum seekers are actually
Well, I mean,
seeking
the
asylum.
most interesting
I'm just
thing
afraid
about-
for the cats and dogs because obviously
Yeah,
they're in trouble.
Oh my gosh, it's horrible. But it is interesting that
And the
why
ducks.
would you pick? Like, I would think that you could get.
Give us
you
your
get a lot-
tired,
you
your
get a lot
poor,
better
your
deal
weak.
on this if you housed them in suburban hotels. It's like that.
Well, the problem was that they had these hotels were for tourists. No tourists were coming. New York City
Yeah.
was a horrible place to be. It was shut down. You had to show your vaccine card to get seated in a restaurant, so nobody was visiting.
Did they have to
everybody
show
bought-
their vaccine card to get a hotel room?
Everybody bought campers.
Did they get their vaccine in Guatemala on the way up?
So this short-sighted decision was made, and now we pay for it at this point. Zach, final sports story. That was sports, everybody. COVID talk. We can't help ourselves. IndyCar got charters, and then a story came out where there's a new car owner in IndyCar because of the charters, which the car owner owns Heartland Food Group, which apparently owns Splenda.
I did not know that.
and it's based in Indianapolis.
did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Splenda is
made in Indy.
privately owned company based out of Indianapolis.
1,200 people work there on the north side of
Did not know
Indianapolis,
this.
Making
yeah.
Splenda?
making Splenda.
Yes, the owner
in
of
Indianapolis.
Splenda is the company that makes, and it sounds like it's a private ownership group. I don't know how many people it is, but
And if you had asked me that question 15 minutes ago, I would have told you it was made in like Mexico or something.
I just told you it was like another like Procter and Gamble, whatever, just a huge,
Yeah, somebody else. Yeah,
a mega. The shocking part to me was it was a small company and based out of Indianapolis. Like that was a doubly interesting, but small company. I would just assumed it was another like Johnson & Johnson, Procter and Gamble
Right.
mega company.
So this
product.
businessman,
Another BlackRock, Vanguard State Street.
Ted Gelov owns it, privately held, and he has two businesses that are inside of Heartland Foods. He has Splenda, which everybody knows, whether you like it or not. It's the greatest sugar-free sweetener on the planet. And he has Java House Coffee, which is like a very regional coffee shop in Lafayette, Indianapolis, and Central Indiana. They've got like 8 shops in Indianapolis.
Dang, good for that guy. That's pretty cool.
So he's now got an ownership stake of the Ed Carpenter racing team.
Get him on the podcast, Jeremiah. Get him on the pod.
You will. Well, here's where we're going. So the next day, so they made this announcement on Wednesday, Zach?
Yeah.
So Monday morning, the news comes out that charters exist. This guy buys into the team on Wednesday. They sign their big driver, Alexander Rossi. Alexander Rossi won the Indy 500 at Andretti Autosport. He's been at McLaren, and before they could fire him, he left, and he is signed with Ed Carpenter Racing. Now, Alexander Rossi he's got his podcast, Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. His producer sat in the chair right next to you there, Dakota, Tim, just about a month ago. So now he's got somewhere to hang out. Thim's going to be continuing in IndyCar as well. Tim.
What?
Goes by Thim.
Am I missing something?
That's just what they call him.
Yeah, his friends like to make
Is he
fun.
British or something?
Dope.
He's Hoosier.
He's from Fortville.
So,
Oh, he goes by they them.
Thim.
They just like to treat him like a second-class citizen. So part of what they do to do that is not call him by his actual name.
So it's
Don't
an
give me
exciting,
ideas.
exciting time. Splenda is coming to IndyCar. I'm looking forward to the baby yellow car, I guess. Maybe.
The thing I found interesting about it was they cut Rinus VeeKay loose. So in a way,
Sarah's most hated driver.
yeah, because one incident on pit lane.
3 times he crashed Alex Plough. She's got a little dartboard.
Is the Ed Carpenter Racing was both the example of the positives of the charter system and the negative, because the positive was there's something for this guy to buy because there's a limited number of entries in IndyCar now. They have some tangible value. So you can present this to this guy. He buys into the team. Therefore, at some point, I think he's bought, because I think I heard substantial amount of the team he bought. They could take those charters and he could sell them later and make some money. But they only get charters based on their entries for 2023. So I thought, well, with the charters, allow this to happen. Without the charters, though, they could have kept Rinus, but they had to keep it to the 2 because that's the only charters they have. And if they gain more, then they have to race Prema to get in. So yeah, I was kind of like, it was a bit bummer to see VK go, but hopefully he finds a ride somewhere. Probably not an IndyCar, but not a lot of seats left. But yeah, I was just more surprised that Splenda's based out of Indianapolis. That was the shock. That's still the most shocking part.
1,200 people there. And I still want to know if there's a connection. Obviously, Ed Carpenter, his family is the Holman George family. Tony Holman, his fortune was made with Clabber Girl baking powder over in Terre Haute. Another Terre Haute reference for you tonight. I don't know if this Tim Gelov fellow has a history with the Clabber Girl group back when the Holman family owned it, or if it's just totally different and they just live in the food world. You know, Zach's in the running world, Dakota's in the electricity world, I'm in the construction world. Maybe the Holman George family just, goes to the country club for food magnates. I don't know. But that's the story. Exciting news for motorsports in Indiana. And Alexander Rossi's going to be sticking around. Zach, you got anything else for us here as we transition into final thoughts?
No, I don't think. I am excited that Ross has got a ride. I do think Jeremiah made a comment in a chat that you think we're going to see peak snark out of, because I don't think Ed's going to tell Alex to hold back, and it's already started.
He's a 35-year-old man who acts. He has the snarkiness of a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
He drove for Arrow McLaren, whose tagline was 5 years out for the last 7 years.
And he made a comment on the most recent podcast about chuckling about 5 years out. I'm like, he's already taking digs at like little ones. I don't think he hates any of those people, but he's just making little digs at them. So yeah, I like Rossi. I think uncensored Rossi is the best Rossi. He's an old curmudgeon and a behemoth sometimes, and he's ours. But other than that, no, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I feel like I was bad because last time we were like, do we have anything to talk about? And I think we should have said something about the half marathon coming up that weekend, but I forgot about it. I can't think of anything going on. But everybody just batten down the hatches and look something up on like Netflix or Prime to watch this weekend. The for the car people, the last ever episode of the Grand Tour with the original 3 from Top Gear dropped a couple weeks ago. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, but looking forward to it.
Are they just farming now?
No, I haven't. I have not watched any recent. I loved Clarkson's Farm.
I haven't watched that yet.
It is.
Do you know who I had a conversation about with for Clarkson's Farm is a fan?
Who?
Kiffin Simpson.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's well, I bet Kiffin knows Top Gear and he knows Clarkson, and then he thought, well, I'll just watch this. And it's
we were laughing about. We were looking at tractors at the state fair. Laughing about the Lamborghini.
Tractor.
He
He bought a Lamborghini tractor, and he's like, "Oh God, everything's in Italian." He couldn't read anything like the displays because it wasn't like old jalopy. It was like a modern Lamborghini.
Yeah, Lamborghini
tractor.
still makes tractors.
Yeah, and so but all the like electronic displays where everything was in Italian, so he didn't know how to operate, and it was huge. Funny. It wouldn't fit, like barely fit this barn. But yeah, I thought it very interesting because it's fun because Clarkson's a goofy guy. But they showed like the not great parts of it. Like they would show like, oh, we're delivering calves and like these didn't survive, or I tried to keep this one. So I found that show really good. I just haven't got a chance to get back and watch any of the other seasons. And then Gerald's a national treasure for those who have watched it.
I've seen the clips of him on Instagram just talking over the radio. Those are really funny. Is that the guy that they can't understand a word that he's saying? Okay, yeah. I've seen those.
I believe they sent him to London once. In the first season.
They also sent. I don't think they sent Gerald, but they sent.
There's a kid.
Yeah, they sent the kid. They sent him in to go get truffle, to sell truffles. Yes, and he was like, "These are garbage." Yes.
Dakota, welcome back, man. Great to have you back in the building.
Is this hanging out with us? Is that what we're doing?
We're in final thoughts.
Okay.
Unless you want to go. I mean, I got 2 more hours of stuff.
No. I'm good.
You left me in charge of the notes. We can go more. There's page 2.
It's good. It was good to be back. Enjoyed myself. I've had to take a little step back while I'm going back to Ivy Tech, which has been good for me.
It is an Ivy League school for Henry County.
It is. Yeah. The Ball State is the Harvard of Muncie. Ivy Tech is the Harvard of Newcastle.
I got my degree.
Whenever I decided to go back, my advisor was hounding me. You have to pick. It's a general studies diploma, but you have to pick a focus. If you go for general studies, you're going to get a well-rounded education. But there's too many credits that you still have to fill out to where we can't just pick random things for you. You've got to pick a focus, and then we can put you on track. And that also will help you if you decide to go pursue another degree in the future. It'll put you on track for that. So I took my second class that I took was creative writing. I really loved it. I've always been decently good at writing, so I decided that my focus was going to be English, and that's proven to be more difficult than I had anticipated, because it's not that it's hard.
Top 5 most difficult class I ever took was English 101 at Ivy Tech.
I'm awful.
It's not that it's like hard as in like it's difficult for me. It's hard because it takes a lot of time. It's just taking so much time.
I've got PTSD over 1-inch margins right now, 10-point font, and somebody bleeding red all over my shit.
What's that book called? What's the thing called? The formatting?
You have MLA,
MLA,
or APA.
Oh my gosh, hate it all.
It's just I've got a 7-page paper due on Saturday, and then the week after that, or 2 weeks from now, I've got another 10-pager due. So it's just there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. But it is what it is. I'll be done in February. I'm really looking forward. So my next class is actually my math class, which is going to suck because I'm bad at math.
You got your TI-83?
And that's the only one that is not going, that Ivy Tech does not offer online math classes. So that really blows too.
What's the course number?
I don't remember. It's quantitative reasoning, which is basically statistics.
No. I
already have my basic math.
I did the
I already have the basic math.
I took.
So it's either going to be calculus or quantitative reasoning. give me statistics.
I took like math
not
1.
calculus.
I had to do 2 remedial math classes because I didn't want to fight it. So I did like a 200 level math classes. And then I did like math 111, which was a basic algebra. That got me through Ivy Tech. And then I did business statistics class at Ivy Tech. That counted as my math class when I got my bachelor's program. I sneaked through the bachelor's degree with as little math as possible to then become a sales guy that crunches numbers every day.
She told me that that this quantitative reasoning class, if I were to take it right now and then pursue my bachelor's later in anything that was not in the math field or engineering, then I would not have to take another math class. So there's the good news. It's twice a week, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's just going to really suck. But it's 8 weeks and then it's
be
done,
in and out.
you know? So
be in and out.
But then after that, like I have a really cool class right after my math class this winter. That's American literature from 1765 to 1800, which is that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be pretty sweet.
I'm glad you're happy about it.
My advisor, she's like, people have mixed feelings about this class. I have some people that like it, but people say it's kind of hard because there's a lot of reading and a lot of writing. And I was like, wait. You're telling me that I get to write and also study history, American history during the Revolutionary period. Like, that is
going to go full Thomas.
Sign me up. And then after that, I have a poetry class and I'm all done. So I'm all done by February or in February.
You get to walk in May?
I don't know if I actually
graduation?
walk or not, or if they just send it to me in the mail and say, good job. I've made the dean's list every semester, which is kind of cool.
I think you'll get it. I think you'll get to walk. Are you a student at Newcastle rolling through Indianapolis? What campus do you belong to?
Newcastle is a satellite location of Muncie. So I'm in Muncie.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. See, it's been a long time. Obviously, it was a long time ago that I think I'm an 06 graduate of Ivy Tech.
Oh, wow.
It's been a minute. But I was a Indianapolis student, and I was taking classes in Muncie, but I was on the program for Indianapolis. But obviously a long time ago. We had just invented computers when I was doing this.
That was 10.
I wish it was the same job I am right now. Oh my God. All right. Well, awesome. We're very proud of you. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Imagine how much smarter you're going to be in February when you have that degree.
It's been, I told my wife this, is that it's, I'm glad that I'm doing it now. Actually, if I had done this right after high school, I would not have taken as much from it as I am now, because I actually feel like I'm absorbing information, doing stuff that I can actually enjoy more and take it in. It's been interesting.
I learned more in my 2 years getting my associate's degree at Ivy Tech than I did in the 2 years doing my bachelor's degree at Indiana Wesleyan University. Like, Ivy Tech was incredibly useful for me in learning the skills I needed. It's people crap on it because it's a community college or whatever, but it was a very, very fundamental building block of me learning how to study and adulting. I'm a huge advocate of Ivy Tech.
Yeah, and the whole reason I decided to do this, I took some classes through Udemy. I took some leadership classes through Udemy, which is like they do like corporate stuff, corporate training classes, and you earn certifications through them, not degrees, but certifications. And I did some leadership classes through Udemy that I could take advantage of through my work, and they were easy as pie. Like, I just sat there and let a video play, and then I answered some multiple choice questions, and then 3 weeks later I had a certificate in frontline leadership, and it was like, oh,
piece of cake, rack them up.
Interesting. So then I thought, I need to do this but get a degree. And so I started looking into online classes, and I applied for some other stuff and things were turned down and declined, and then finally settled on Ivy Tech. And I thought I ought to be cake. And it's totally not. The way that they have the online classes structured is like it's college. Like you're going to college. I didn't expect it. It's way surpassed my expectations as far as like forcing you to actually learn.
You have to do the work.
Doing work.
Back in the day for me, we had to read our chapters, do whatever it was, take our tests, but then we also had to do like online discussions where you had to go into groups and comment and interact with your class. That was a part of it. And that was graded, and it was a portion of what we had to do. It was through Blackboard or Chalkboard or something was the software we used
Blackboard, yes.
Blackboard,
I think that my wife got her bachelor's from Ball State online mostly, and then she did her associates to start through Ivy Tech. And I think she had a rougher time in terms of like expectations of professors at Ivy Tech than she did at Ball State. I think sometimes it's the teachers have the mentality of like chip on their shoulder. I don't want to be like, this is an easy community college, so I'm going to make this even tougher than like as opposed to I had a stat class at Ball State, and it was it was a weed out. Like 50% of people flunked it the first time. I took it in the summer, and the guy was like, we're going to hit the highlights. We don't have time to get the, and so I was just like,
exactly the same experience.
Yeah.
First day I was on campus, I had the business statistics class. I was taking it in Muncie because I was working in Muncie, and the business program chair was teaching the class. I'm sitting in the classroom and I'm flipping through, and I'm like, I didn't even recognize the letters on the damn pages in the book. I need more math before I take this. There was purpose that I didn't have. I'm like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I sat through the class. I'm like, you need to switch me. They switched me into like a American National Government class, which was cake for me. And then I took it like a year later, and it was an adjunct professor who was like, yep, just take the test at home. It's a test bank. Just take it until you get a score you like, and then stop. Sweet. I can memorize a test. So we had like 3 tests, and that was it. And then that was my math class for my bachelor's program.
You said the American government. My American government political science 101 class was the easiest class I have ever taken because
you practically
because of this
podcast.
I did not open the link to the textbook the entire class. I would go through, there was like quizzes and different like weird assignments, and there was like this whole thing where there's like a computer simulation where you were pretending to be a congressman, and I don't know, it was all weird.
I hope there were bribes.
Taking bribes, I was going to say.
It was like, I got a 98% in that class, and I did not download the textbook into my e-reader. I didn't even download it.
You lost me at having your textbooks on an e-reader. I had to get mine in paper form.
It cost me $400.
I was going to say, and then you'd sell them back for $12.42.
Yeah, my first 2 classes, they were like, just download this e-reader app, and then you can have your textbook. And I tried it for a couple weeks, and I was like, oh no, I'm old. I can't do this. I have to actually buy the textbooks. So I had to email my professor and like, hey, does Ivy Tech, do you guys have a link to the where I can order the book? Yeah, here they are. I had to order 2 books and buy them separately because they didn't even give me the option to buy the books.
I was so stupid. I didn't know. First of all, Amazon.com barely existed. It was so stupid. I would go to the college bookstore. I'd buy them full retail price. That I'd spend $100 and $120 in $2004, Dakota.
Oh, my books
to buy books. So
my books a couple times like $600 to $800.
Yeah, so it's $400 to $500 a semester.
The more refined your major was, so like the more you got into
they were specific
major,
books.
Yeah, the higher you got in your major, the books got. In our books were written by the professor who was the head of our program, and they were still horribly expensive.
So I would, they're all in my attic in a box because the first time I went back, they're like, yep, we don't buy that book back. We won't buy that book back. We won't buy that book back. We'll give you $14 for that book. The hell you will. I'm keeping them. These are my souvenirs now.
I sold a bunch bach, but some of them I kept.
My creative writing book, I could ship them back and get so much returned to me. Like you had to pay full price and then they would reimburse you for so much of it instead. And I was doing that, and then I thought, my focus now is going to be English, and I'm going to be doing a lot of writing. So this creative writing textbook might actually come in handy, and it has definitely come in clutch a few times. And then I also found a English 101 textbook at Goodwill for $4, and I purchased it, and it has all of literally every single citation that you could imagine.
I hope he's
It has
plagiarized. He's going to admit to all his plagiarism
No,
right now.
it has.
I've been using this and this and this, turning them in. They're great.
No, it has examples for every single type of citation that you could use.
Yep.
And all of the in-text examples. And it has been a lifesaver.
If Jesse Riddle
for
was here,
this
he'd be
class.
like, AI can write the citation for you right now.
Yeah, screw that. Yeah,
Chat
I've
GP
tried.
can
I've
make
tried
this
to go to Chat GPT. I mean, like, especially my creative writing class. Hey, what would make this better? And then it would spit something out, and I'd be like, oh God, that's awful. It's so bad.
The problem with AI is, one, usually it's kind of hot garbage. There's probably some good stuff out there, but like we've gotten a new system at work that can it reads medical evidence and it'll pull stuff out for you. But is it handy? Yes. Is it foolproof? No. So do you have to act like it doesn't exist most of the time? Yes. Because if you trust it implicitly, it will let you down.
You're going to mess up.
It's like
You're going to deny
it's
somebody
like
a claim.
it's like the Tesla autopilot. Like you might get decapitated or you might kill a pedestrian if you really trust this. So should you use it all? Yeah, not really.
Final thoughts for me. Zach was talking about shows to binge. Only Murderers in the Building is out. The Steve Martin short movie or show on Hulu. I think there are like 7 of the 10 episodes are out for season 4. Big New York City thing as well. So I might drag Sarah by to go look at the building. I think it's just CBS on the ground floor. It's right up there by the building that John Lennon was shot outside of Central Park, the Dakota. Are you familiar with this one? John Lennon was shot in 1980.
Yep.
Outside the Dakota. And there's a little garden, strawberry fields just outside of it inside Central Park. Probably going to go there too.
Strawberry
Pour
fields
one
forever.
out for Dakota in front of the Dakota. Want to give a special recognition to Mr. Zach Burcham. 1,000 days in a row without at least a mile today. Congrats.
It's taken so long.
You've been doing this since January 1st, 2021? 2000. Well, yeah.
2, 3, 4.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in year 3.
22. That's an amazing accomplishment. You said today you actually hit that running with the kids, so I wanted to read that into the record. We're very proud of you.
I got a screen grab on my app telling me I got it, so that's what really.
So we're going to have to submit the photo of you today to the Courier Times, so Jeff Burcham can get credit.
For
running his 1,000 1 mile days in a row.
I've been hanging out with a guy though I think that hasn't missed a day of running in like 40 years or something like that.
Well,
so
if he doesn't have enough to prove it, it never happened.
There's always somebody that got you though. No, he's probably got a written log of it. So it's been interesting.
With that, we will wrap the show up. About an hour and a half, not too bad. Back to the old school vibes with nothing to talk about. We gave you 80 minutes. We will be back next Thursday night with future Congressman, current City Councilman, Mr. Aaron Dickin. We'll see you then.